Hello and welcome to Designer Discussions. Today, Jason and I are going to talk about how you can stop doing random marketing in 2026. Welcome to the Designer Discussions podcast with
Jason.
Maria.
and Miriam. Tune in each week where we talk about marketing, PR, and business advice for design professionals. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Designer Discussions. I'm Miriam, the PR pro of the team, and Jason's here with me too. It's so good to have you with us.
Yes, hello. I'm Jason here, heading up the marketing side of things, and we're going to talk a little bit about a plan for 2026.
Yes, and we're super excited about this because we're going to talk about something that's on a lot of people's minds right now. How on earth are you going to map out your marketing plan for 2026 when you're already stretched thin and running a design and remodeling business?
I was just going to say we see this every year
Mhm.
on the marketing side. People are starting to plan at the end of the year, but then they don't have a real structure on what their goal is at the end of the next year. And that's where we like to help you start, is to say, where do you want to get to? And then we can reverse engineer and get you there.
Yes, our goal really is to sketch out a simple structure for 2026 and nothing fancy. Our motto is always to keep it simple and actionable. So it's not a 60-page marketing plan or anything like that, just helping you make a few decisions that will make your life easier next year.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that on this podcast. But at the end, we're going to also talk about a masterclass that we're hosting to give more information on this and to also talk about how we can really help you in the masterclass and beyond in the academy. Let's start talking about what we're going to talk about here in 2025, heading into 2026, and have a reality check and what actually sounds familiar to a lot of the audience listening now.
Yes, and we see a lot of what we call a random acts of marketing. For instance, like an instant burst of posts on Instagram or a newsletter that goes out once and then never again, maybe a trade show participation, or maybe one press release with sadly zero follow up. Then everything goes quiet when projects get really busy. That happens a lot.
And then what we hear on the marketing side is all about leads. And when the leads start to dry up and slow down, everybody starts to panic. And that's when they start to call on us on the marketing side, say, yes, we need you to inject us with a whole lot of leads, not understanding that you got to have the foundation in place before you get to lead generation.
Yeah, I frequently have people tell me that they think about marketing and PR for that matter almost every single day, but they just don't end up doing it. And it's not because they don't care, but it's because there is no plan in place that actually make it feasible. It just is all overwhelming and always feels like you're starting from scratch.
And we hear that a lot on the website side too. I hear a lot that people want to have their website perfect, but there is no perfect website.
Mm.
You just got to get it out there and you got to optimize and update consistently because that's what the search engines is looking for anyway. You're going to never have a perfect site like you never have a perfect project. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah, so if you're listening and nodding along, it doesn't mean that you're behind, and you're definitely not lazy. What's missing is structure. You have tactics, but you don't have a system.
And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, helping you lay out a system for where you need to be in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, and today we're gonna look at it a little bit differently. Basically, the way we think about marketing for design and remodeling businesses boils down to five individual pillars. And if it's new to you, don't worry about it. It's super simple.
Number one, The first pillar is actually the foundation, and that's where we start. And I always say your hub is your website. So you have to start with the website. And then once you have that in place, now you get into SEO and then optimizing that for leads. And then that's where you grow in terms of the foundation.
Mhm. The second pillar, and you can almost think about these like as a pyramid where one piece builds on the other. But the second pillar is visibility. And this is all about how you show up where people already spend time. So think about your social media channels, your Google business profile, which Jason talks a lot about, local search, maybe some directories. It's all about how people remember that you exist.
And the third pillar is what Miriam does a lot of is the authority piece. And that's about PR, media mentions, design awards, and all that. So that's we're helping you understand how to get those. And once you have them, how to showcase them so you can have the visibility and the authority that you need.
Mhm. And pillar number four is nurture, which means it's the ways you stay in touch with people who already know you exist. So think of email newsletters, follow ups, check ins with past clients. It turns one project into a real pipeline of opportunities for you.
And then last one is sales. And that's where, yes, you have the marketing in place, but you have to carry it through to actually turning the prospect into a project. And that's where the sales come in. And that's what we talk a lot about is how to get the prospect in. And then once you have them in, be able to market the right way and sell them on what you're doing to turn that into a project.
Mm. Yeah, so when we look at a firm's marketing, we don't ask just simple questions like, "Are you on Instagram?" or "Do you have a newsletter?" We ask that too eventually, but we really ask, "How strong is your foundation?" And we look at the different pillars and we identify which one of them is the weakest right now, and that's where we start.
And then we have you think about where do you want to be at the end of 2026? Do you need more marketing and how you think about that? What aspects of the marketing you need? And then how do you execute that to have the success that you want to have by the end of the year?
Yes, and we'll walk you through that in just a little bit. But before we do, let's get grounded with a couple of real examples so this is not so theoretical.
Let's actually talk about a few case studies
Mhm,
that we've
mhm,
had. And on the foundation side, I like to tell a story about having a website, and that's where you need to start. So we actually had a designer come to us in 2019 that was in a panic because they did everything on their Facebook profile. And they drew all of their traffic to that profile, and they didn't have a website because they didn't think they need one. What ended up happening is they ran ads and their profile was shut down for 6 weeks and they were in a panic. So that's why we had to create a website. And that's why I always say your website is your hub because that's the one thing you control. We don't own Instagram, Facebook, or all these social media platforms. You own your website. So that's why I always say start with your foundation of your website.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. My standout example is of a company that was part of our academy program, actually not for 1 year, but for 2 years. And it's about visibility and authority, which are my core areas of expertise. And in the first year, they were just so overwhelmed and a little bit intimidated. They didn't do anything of the PR tactics that I teach in the program. And then the second year, the intimidation factor had shrunk and they started implementing what I was teaching. And within the first month, they got a mention on Forbes. And they were just blown away. And it just goes to show that when you make a decision and you focus on something and you take action, you really can get results really quickly. So that was super exciting for everybody.
Another example on the nurture side that I want to talk about is we have a client. Well, we had a client in the Dallas area that was a well-known interior designer, and she did not believe in email marketing because it did not work for her, and she used email marketing for a year. But when we analyzed it and we looked at it, we saw that in her email, it was talking a lot about her and how great of an interior designer she was. And she was having a low open rate because nobody will care what you have to say until they know you care. And so that's why we had to restructure everything into what we call the 80-20 rule, where it's 80% value, 20% self promotion. From there, she started to get more people to open up the email, and then eventually they started to convert. So over time, we nurtured them and they turned into paying clients.
I love that example too. And if you've noticed, like these are all stories where they didn't try to fix everything at once, right? They picked one pillar and made a few focus changes and then stuck with them. And that's what generated the results. And that's really the mindset that we would encourage you to use going into next year. So if you're listening and wondering, okay, what can I actually do with this? Let's walk you through a tiny version of a plan that you can sketch out after listening to this episode.
Step one, what you want to do, you want to look at what in the first quarter of 2026, what do you want to accomplish? What is the first pillar that you want to do? Okay. And then we want to analyze where you are now, what have you done in the past, had success with or not. Because at the end of the day, it's about implementing this. You can actually implement the goals by the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So if just as a reminder, so the pillars are, right, the foundation, visibility, authority, nurture, or sales. So if your website is outdated, and we see this quite a lot, I would say, and you cringe a little when people just ask for your website so they can check you out online, the foundation's probably your first stop. And if nobody can find you online, then it might be visibility. So you've been doing good work for years, but no, you haven't had any kind of press at all, then it's probably authority. And if you tend to lose touch with clients that you've already had, you might want to invest some efforts into nurturing. And if you have leads and bring them in, but you don't convert them, you want to work on your sales.
Step two, once you have the pillar that you want to work on, now you want to have an action step for that pillar. So, say you choose foundation. Now you want to say, okay, do I want to optimize my website and how do I want to do that? If you already have your website and it's optimized correctly, you can look at, okay, now I want to look at SEO for not at the large scale of SEO, but Google Business Profile. Is that optimized and what you need to do there? So that's what you can do and then have that as the initial step to lead you into action.
Mhm. So if you choose authority, which heavily leans on PR. Maybe you have a super exciting project that you've just finished and you can put together a little package and send it to the editor of your regional magazine to turn it into a nice feature for yourself. So that would be one of the things. Or we talk a lot about getting quick press. So maybe you go look back at some of the previous podcast episodes we did and you learn how to get quick press and decide to focus on that for a month. Maybe you'll land a feature in Forbes too. Who knows?
Then on the third step, what you want to look at is how do you stay accountable? I like to use, we all get that gym membership. And then by February, it's just sitting on the side. How are you going to keep yourself accountable to what you do? That could be a person in your office that you talk to. That could be your significant other. That could be somebody on your team that can help you, that you let them know what the steps are you're planning to do within your marketing efforts to keep you accountable.
Yes. So if all you do after this episode is choose one pillar, one action, and one simple accountability measure. You're already ahead of most firms going into 2026, and we can speak to this from experience. So you don't need to perfect your entire year-long plan in January. Just start with one thing.
And just think of it like building a house. So you start with the foundation, then you put up the walls, then you do everything else. So you don't do everything at once. So start with that one step and then help that move you forward to the next step.
Mhm. Now, if you like this way of thinking about your marketing and you want a bit more structure around it, we're actually doing something really special in December here at Designer Discussions.
We're going to be hosting a live masterclass where we go over these five pillars to talk about the framework to actually help you implement that over the next 12 months in 2026. So you have a roadmap to accomplish the goals you set out for.
The masterclass is specifically designed for design and remodeling businesses. So we'll talk about real examples from your world, not generic marketing theory.
So if you want to join us, look at the info in the show notes where we'll have links to all the information and how you can join us live.
Yeah, and it's going to be December 11th and December 13th, one at night and one during the day. So hopefully one of those times works for you if you're interested. And just as a reminder, your homework for today, whether or not you choose to attend the masterclass, is pick your pillar, your marketing pillar for the first quarter of next year. Pick one key action and tell someone about it to hold yourself accountable. That alone will shift how you walk into 2026.
So we appreciate you hanging out with us today, and we hope to see you in the masterclass.
Yes, and we'll hope to see you back here in 2 weeks for another episode of our Designer Discussions podcast also.
All right, see you then. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Designer Discussions and all of the helpful information. Subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. We look forward to having you back next week. For more information on the podcast and the marketing studio, visit designerdiscussions.com and follow us on social media.